Let's just dive in.
Perfect.
Normally, like I was saying before we hit record, normally like I don't do the intro because the podcast isn't about me and it's about the guest and my background isn't as relevant, but we have so many funny overlaps in our lives. We've never met. So for anyone listening or
No,
watching, Alex and I have
sure.
never met, but there's so many funny overlaps. And this is kind of the philosophy or the philosophical idea that I wanted to bring into our chat, is like this idea of how there's just so many cool ways people are connected without knowing it. So just to set up the background, I was born in Toronto, Canada, and I lived there until I was 14. And when I was 14, I moved to Prague and I did high school in Prague for 4 years before moving to the US for 1 year for a bit of a partial baseball scholarship. Quit that, moved back to Toronto, got into university and work, and that led me to Vancouver, which is where I am now. What you don't know is that when I was growing up, my mom and grandfather were both in the music industry, and that's how this whole crazy story starts. So, my mom ran or was the general manager of CBC Records, and she was like helping to
Hmm.
deal with the classical music and stuff there. And my grandfather, Jan, because you were saying how you liked my background,
Hmm.
he basically helped found SOCAN. So he was in charge of
Wow.
merging the two performing rights societies that we had before SOCAN, and that's the architects rent architectures architects rendering of the building that is still in
Wow.
Toronto. What's crazy though is that, and this ties into more craziness later, but when I was 3 years old, I had open heart surgery because I was born
Mm.
with tetralogy of the flow. And so my life started with this crazy life altering, life saving surgery that has impacted me on many profound ways throughout my life. And you just went through that.
Absolutely. And that's crazy.
So we're
Wow.
bonded by heart, and I want to talk about the industry overlap later because there's some
Yeah,
funny
of
ones.
course.
But like, let's talk about the power of the heart and our collective experiences.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's I guess it's a bit of a cliche when you're facing, some kind of like an absolutely uh the unknown. And because a moment I was planning a world tour, and after that I was like being like asked to do a will and to make sure my things were in order. So I had to work those two things in like at the same time, trying to balance
Yeah.
something, and make sense of it all. And it's so strange, but at the same time, I think that some of course I was very grateful that I survived. Of course, it's not about that, but I think that what truly saved me wasn't truly that surgery. It was everything that I went through, because suddenly I realized, because everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong in that surgery. So I supposedly died like a few times on the table and all of that, and survived to tell the whole thing. But what I
Yeah.
realized after that, I was so impaired. I wasn't able to talk for 4 months. I wasn't able to write. I wasn't able to fix a computer. I wasn't able to read. I wasn't able I wasn't able to remember um like major parts of my past. And I was missing on so many words, because of the surgery went so bad. I had like microembolism in the brain, and
Mm,
suddenly I felt like everything that was defining me at some point was gone. And then I realized that I wasn't the product of what I was doing and the way I was doing it, and it was something else that I had to kind of look into. And that was very, for me, that was one of the most like terrible and enlightened part of my life, of that experience, because you find yourself, completely lost. You're pointing at something, and in your head it's called table, but you don't remember, the name of it. Some people are talking about, oh yeah, we did this and this. I still don't remember. And so it was a real nightmare. And on top of it, I wasn't able to talk. So everything was I was like isolated in some kind of a like echo chamber. And the beautiful thing about it was the fact that I was at the time, I was, I have a place in Virginia and I'm in the mountains. It's very quiet. So the only thing I was able to do was to kind of look around and try to grasp things that I overlooked pretty much all my life, that I never really cared because I was, I was doing so many things. I was going very, very fast. And then everything kind of clicked and I was
Mhm.
able to kind of, um, make peace with the fact that I will never be the same again. And at first it felt like a loss, but then after that it came as a real blessing because I was able to kind of, with that second chance, I was able to kind of redefine who I really wanted to be and not being the product of so many things that led me there, like that moment before being on that surgery table. So that was a
Yeah.
really different experience that took like, you know, like many different turns, but that's really how I experienced it and still try to figure, what happened, to be quite honest.
So let me ask you this. It's kind of like a two-part question. One was that the first time you faced your own mortality, or had you done it before?
Oh, I think it was the first time I that I wasn't uh in charge because when I was a kid, I had like it was very, I was very depressed and stuff like that. And I tried to commit suicide. And but I don't think I was looking to a final solution in my life. I think I
Mm,
was looking for something that would help me kind of like jumpstart something else. And but I never really think about it that much. So that was as close, and there was like so many different moments, but I think that that moment, you cannot deny what it is. When
yeah.
everybody's around, you need to gather everybody and say, well, to explain, well, guys, um, this is reality now. This is what might happen. And then I had to make sure that I was in peace. And frankly, I realized that I had lived like so many different lives in the same, in that crazy stream of life that was mine. And
Mhm.
I didn't want to go, but I felt like I had lived a rich life because I had loved and I had been loved and I been able to share so many things with so many people over the years. So that was the first time really I kind of like understood that it could have been it. But
Yeah.
before, you're just like living your life and you kind of, you always want to dare, you're kind of like challenging death and for whatever it means. And so I was jumping from second floor balcony and shows. So, it was like a different kind of antic at the time. So I was always like pushing the boundaries. I wanted to feel alive, but I didn't know truly how. So in many ways, I was trying to push that to the limit, but
Mhm.
to really understand, like, well, okay. So that was that moment where, like, the night prior to go to the hospital, and I said, well, the odds are the odds. Life is life. I mean, you cannot. I'm here, so
Yeah.
everything went relatively well.
So
But that was the moment.
yeah, it's crazy how there's so many of us that have that same phrase that you just said. Like, I'm trying desperately to feel alive, and it's not until you come close to death or experience death, or whether it's yourself or someone else, that all of a
Yeah,
sudden you have a wake up call and you realize, oh shit, I don't need to try to feel alive. I am alive. Instead of
yeah,
going external and looking for validation and things like there, I need to go inward and actually be happy and grateful that I'm alive. That is, the closest to living to being alive we can get is being in the moment.
Absolutely. And in the now, what I'm calling being in the now. And I think that even when you're trying to go within, it's always a matter of like, how willing are you to keep on going deeper and deeper? And I think that
Yeah.
it was easier for me to talk about it and to write about it and to walk with people that were in difficult situation than to really face my own degree of denial or um, unwillingness to face that what was uh, kind of stuck within, you know.
Mhm.
So that's why it's so strange, and it comes like in different layers. Sometimes you just don't feel anything, but you know deep down inside that on your ex, but you don't kind of feel it, and you want to, you want to have that, that you want to, you really want to feel it,
Mhm.
but for whatever reason you don't. But it doesn't mean that you're not feeling anything, or it doesn't mean that it's not true. It doesn't mean that it's not meaningful. And that's also something that you need to come, for me at least, that I had to come to term with, because for me, it needed to be within the limits, or the pushing the limits of the extremes. So it needed to hurt.
Mhm.
I needed to feel that sensation rather than just like, well, chill out and let's have fun, So I wasn't
Yeah.
understanding that concept when I was like seeing so many of my friends just like being so, cool about everything. And for me, it was just like, it felt shallow, but the reality was like they were living the moment. And I didn't
Yeah.
feel like I was able to, and I was frustrated by that. And that's why it needed to be painful and for whatever
Yeah.
reasons.
I'm the same way. It's funny because like living in the moment is very different than being present, right? That you can
Yeah.
be in the moment but not present, and vice versa. Uh, it sounds like you had what happened to me and many other people, change by force, right? So change happens by
Yeah.
choice or force, and most of the time it's by force. And when this happened to you, it sounds like it stripped away old versions or pieces of Alex Henry Foster, and the version that you are today is very different than pre-surgery.
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, to be quite honest, maybe it's my personality, or maybe, it's simply who I am, but all the major like changes had to be forced upon me. And when this happened, I was struggling with this all the time. And I think that rather than change, that's why it kind of, I was able to feel a little bit of the transformation that this situation created, when I realized that, it wasn't a fight I would win.
Yeah.
So it's strange sometimes. It's, when, and I think I truly realized that when I lost my father. And I thought about it because it was like 12 years ago, like 2 days ago. And I was here, and I was like trying to comprehend a little bit more, who he was, you know, like the extent of who I am because of this man that I
Mhm.
was admiring, but we weren't able to get along that much. And so sometimes you have like, you're grateful, but when there was also still elements of regrets and sorrowfulness when I was thinking about that, recently.
Mhm.
And so it's strange sometimes, but yeah, life will force itself on you, and you might fight all your life, and remain at the and fight for the sake of status quo, or what you feel you don't want to lose. But I think that every time I I had to declare myself, okay, all right, I can take this anymore. You've got, I'll give it to you. It's all right. Let's move
Yeah.
on. That's my loss. Let's keep on going. And then after that, I was able to understand, or maybe to see a little bit of the benefits of actually uh, going through what I felt was a loss, but that was like a major win in the end.
Hmm. Yeah, I have a saying that bad things are just unrealized good things. That if one takes if you take a view of oneness to life as opposed to left right, right wrong, good bad, then everything is just everything, and you don't have to assign a weight or something to it. You can do it whatever you want with it. So from my perspective, I had this crazy 3-4 year arc where um, going back to my heart condition, I lived my whole life totally fine. Thank God, my surgery was amazing. I lived 40 years playing sports and doing all this stuff, totally fine. Moved here. And then I think it was the second time I got COVID, whatever variant was going around, it impacted my heart. Like it physically impacted my heart, and
Hmm.
it changed me on an anatomical level. It did. And so the doctors here were saying, like, listen, we've done tests, things are not looking bad, but they're definitely not great.
Yeah,
We should
really,
do like a valve replacement, all this stuff. So they were getting me ready to do surgery on my heart on Christmas uh, Day, I think it was, or Christmas Eve, maybe. And then about 2 weeks before, like I hadn't heard from anyone, and I was like, "What's going on?" So long story short, I called, and they finally got back to me and said, "We don't know what to tell you, but like your conditions reversed itself and you don't need surgery. You're back to normal. You're back to the way you were, so we're fine." And thankfully that's held now since then. But then a month later, my wife at the time left me. My grandmother got sick. My grandmother eventually passed away. I met another woman. Her and I had a rocky start to our relationship. She got pregnant. We had the baby. We lost the baby, and then I needed emergency surgery on my gallbladder. And it wasn't until finally I was lying in the hospital bed after that surgery saying, okay, I get it now. Life's just going to keep lifing, and
yeah,
it's just going to keep layering on stuff. And I can make a choice how it affects me and what I do with it. And I chose to turn all of that into something positive, which is largely why we're talking today. A year
yeah,
ago, my
absolutely. Wow,
cardiologist said,
man.
yeah. So a year ago, my cardiologist said, "You're totally fine. See you in a year." And I said, "What do I do?" He said, "Give back."
Yeah.
And
Mm,
that's so I think gratitude is one of the most important things. Presence, the other one. It sounds like
mm,
you're living with more presence and more gratitude than you ever have now.
absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. As I thought I had like a rocky patch. Whoa. That's quite something. But that's, again, it's, because I think that it's human nature to try to like take every little things and to comprehend as much as possible, and because it could be like your desire to control as well, because what you understand is easier to control as well, and to
Mm,
make sense of it, and just, okay, well, this and this and that. But when it keeps on adding up, and you don't quite know, the reasons, it's very difficult, and just like, why am I experiencing all those things back to back to back to back to back? And you're just like, wait a minute, it just feels like that amazing news. Oh, well, you're okay. You don't have to come here today. And you're just like, what? But, and even that,
yeah.
were you, because it's not necessarily about the surgery in itself, but, you know, you're getting prepared. You're getting, and like emotionally, spiritually, you're getting prepared in that motion where, you're laying down, and basically you're trusting the people who are there, and all the technologies to kind of take care of yourself while you're kind of
Mm,
off. But the psychological aspect of it, it's not even like when you're on the table. It's all that um all the pre surgery, because it's real. It doesn't, you don't have to be
yeah.
like actually there. And it kind of I don't know for you, but for me, I realize how um, impacting it was. It kind of really, really changed the way I was approaching not only life, but my relationship, the way I was getting into the way I was getting into projects. And so even if, thank God, as you said, you don't have to go, great. But the time that you had to kind of prepare yourself for it, it kind of changed you as well. So how were you impacted, and how much of this allowed you to kind of face all like those situations that you had to kind of deal with one after the other? Was it like, was there
That's
any
it. It's a great
way or,
question. I don't normally get questions, so I love it and I appreciate it big time. I want more of them. Future guests, ask me questions too.
Exactly. It's a conversation.
Um, I think that what I learned over the last four-ish years was that living is the most important thing. Enduring things is the most important thing. It was after my ex and I had split. I was talking to one of my therapists, and we were talking about empathy and controlling the narrative, and you have to let go, and you're being defensive, and the reason you're being defensive is because you're worried about what people think about you because of the bad things you've done, and now the truth is
Mm,
out. Empathy is created by going through it. You can't empathize with someone that's going through a divorce unless you've been through a divorce. So for
yeah.
me, that was that big aha moment where I said, "Oh, okay, so like going through the surgery and the fear of the surgery and all that stuff gives me a knowledge base that allows me to help other people but also help myself." So at the time, to answer your question, I think I didn't really have anything other than I hope it's okay, and
Yeah.
fingers crossed it'll work out, or staying positive. Uh, it removed a lot of stress from my life when I found out that I was fine, but that also set me on the course of
Mm,
self-discovery, which then allowed me to get stronger and endure more shit, and then stronger and endure more, to the point where when I was holding my baby girl dead in my arms on Father's
mm,
Day, I was like, "This is the hardest thing in the entire world," but all the things that happened to me before helped me get to a point where I can endure this, and I know that I
yeah.
will be okay as hard as it is. So I think it was important to go through, and it's mentally draining and exhausting. But in hindsight, the amount of wisdom and strength you gain from those is just so incredible, which is why I said, like, bad things are just unrealized good things.
Yeah. And I think it's incredible, especially when, now, I guess for you, with a bit of a perspective to hold your daughter, and it's just like, being so close, let's say being so close, your life was in jeopardy or something like that. You had like a stop sign, just like,
Mhm.
look, stop. You didn't want to stop before, now you have to. And like it or not, it is what it is. And then life keeps on, you know, happening, and the stream of life keeps on growing and growing, leading you to that moment. I mean, that's crazy, because was it truly a stop, or was it meant for you and I to stop? But it was that the flow never stopped. It's maybe
Yeah.
it was for us to understand, that, we were trying to, just like you said with your, well, and it's easy for therapists to say all those things, right? You need to
Mhm.
let go. You need to, yes, I know. But I think that it kind of leads you to a place where it's not only, you don't intellectualize all those things. It just get,
Yeah.
it's just like, what I believe is like the longest distance is between our brain and our hearts, when everything you understand needs to kind of get through, and then it becomes part of you, and you don't fear what the unknown. You don't fear what you can control, just like the narrative, all those
Mhm.
things. What would they think about me, or whatever? Oh, I've done so many bad things. And then suddenly you're just like in that little moment with yourself, and it led for you, it led to that incredible moment with your daughter where, I mean, this is life creating life.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Well, I like what you
It's
said
beautiful.
there
It's
about
beautiful.
the thank you. I like what you said there about the head and the heart. So, like my tagline, because I do mindset coaching as well. I've only been doing it for like a few months now, and it's something that I think my life has been working towards. But my tagline is let me help you get out of your head and into your heart, because you're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
absolutely.
We live caught up in our heads all day long. And it's not until we go into our soul, into our hearts, into our core that we find presence, right? Like when we do that, then we actually hear what we want to be doing, and then we can go and intellectualize that and say, dude, the heart is saying this, like you got to switch things around here, because we're doing like not doing the thing we want to do, so let's do what that guy's saying. And it's this
Exactly.
beautiful relationship between the two that I think a lot of people miss, unfortunately. And for me, it was going
Mm,
through all of that extreme hardship that led me to gratitude, that led me to be able to clean out my, the proverbial skeletons in my closet and move
yeah.
forward as a better man. And I also think that sometimes you get what you need, right? So, like, if I am going to be, and I know this is true for many therapists and coaches, is they endure something and they all of a sudden feel inspired to go and help more because they're
Hmm.
so grateful. And they're like, you know what? I can see that person suffering with the thing that I suffered, and I don't want them to suffer because I'm a human and I care about other people. I
Yeah.
want to go and help them because I know that it's not insurmountable. Like, I'm not a special man. Here I am. I've
Yeah.
endured just like you have. And so for me, that was the catalyst. And life said, listen, if you're going to be a coach, we are going to rain a ton of shit down on you because you need to endure.
I love
You
it.
need
I
to
love it.
endure that and know that and understand that you have to walk the walk if you're going to talk the talk.
Absolutely. And I think that's when also because, we tend to go back to the brain because, this is, you know, everything, the construct of who we are, we always believe that we need to go back there because,
Mhm.
okay, well, you need to, well, I'm scared, but okay, well, you need to rationalize. Okay, now this is this and this and this. But sometimes when you just okay, well, yes, I understand all of that. I understand all the principles and I read all those books and whatever, talk with so many people. But
Mhm.
when you're when you just have like a meeting with yourself and you're just like, okay, well, why am I am I always in that instinctive mode where I need to go and hide in that those constructs where okay, well, this is my identity, so I don't need to worry about this. Sometimes, that's exactly what you need to destroy,
Yeah.
and because life is filled with so many ruins as we go. I mean, it's part of life. We think, oh, let's settle here, it's beautiful, and then you're
Mhm.
building something, and we tend as human to destroy everything. We don't believe in paradise, we don't believe in all those beautiful things, because there's so much construct that was, oh, what if, oh yeah, do I, and this and then you're starting to struggle and to doubt yourself, and then suddenly what you felt was beautiful doesn't feel as amazing as it was. And then you feel the urge to keep on going because the person that what you're trying to escape is the person that you are, but you don't want to face. And everybody's telling
Yeah.
you, and you feel like, just like, oh, but I kept on telling you that, Alex. A lot of people are telling me
Mm.
that. So that's when the fact that I don't remember much from the past comes very handy. And just like, oh yeah, you did? I don't remember. But I absolutely know that so many of my friends just like shake me like, bro, you need to let go. Please, you're hurting yourself. It's unnecessary. It's unhealthy. You're because there's so many ways to hurt you. And I think that
Mhm.
when you have a moment of clarity and you're just like, okay, well, so where am I going with all of that? And you're allowing yourself to be honest just long enough to kind of see, just like Leonard Cohen said, just to see the lights get through the cracks and say, well, is it where I'm living? Is it what I'm building back all the time? That kind of like structure where, I it's like self-imposed misery that nobody,
Yep.
I don't have to blame anyone, even if you're going to be quick to explain why, but usually we're the last person to kind of like question about you know, why you're not that happy, or what, why
Yeah.
there's so many things that happen. And then I think it opens up a little bit of a breach in that cocoon where you feel like you've been um secure all along, but you're suffocating. And I think that all those things that happened, it's little cracks that just like allow you to see what's coming inside, of course, but also gives you a little bit of a desire to kind of look, even briefly, oh, what is it coming from? What's in
Hmm.
there? What's out there? So, and I think that's the biggest challenge for so many people now, especially, you can have all the technologies in the world, but I think that it's so difficult to kind of have a real connection that won't be
Yeah.
transactional, but that will be very human. And because we don't trust that anymore, even if it was true, even if it was
Hmm.
pure and genuine, we don't usually trust that. Just but when we give a chance again to kind of feel human in a different way, so then it's very rewarding, and you're the first person to 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 realize and to admit that you've been craving that light all along, but you were
Yeah.
never you didn't have either the courage, or you didn't trust yourself, or you didn't trust the source of that light to get out. But once you start to envision that, I mean, that's it brings major changes. And then it's for you to decide what you want to do with them.
100%. You said light to get out. I agree with everything you said except for that one, because in my mind the analogy is that we're almost all stuck in a cocoon,
Hmm.
and the only way out of the cocoon is through this crazy exercise of the walls breaking down and then light flooding in. So it's almost like we live in darkness, and then we have to have this big huge traumatic event, this change, to get out of our own selves, let the light in. And once you do, then you start to see the world very differently. Like I'm much more present, calm,
Yeah.
grateful, happy, content, fulfilled now than I ever have been in my entire life. And I know that I would have never been this version of myself if I hadn't been thrown into the fire, because I
Mhm.
wouldn't have woken up. I would have still just been going through this same old routine of like, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not happy. It's probably this, and maybe fad
It's
diet. Maybe I'll take a
the
month
the
off drinking.
the virtue of status quo,
Yeah,
you know,
100%.
the illusion, the whole illusion. Absolutely, absolutely.
So let's pivot, because there's so much cool stuff to talk about, and it sounds like you and I could get deep about heart and mind for hours.
Probably we probably have lost everybody at this point.
That's okay. You know what I learned? I learned about like half, I don't know, I think 50 conversations in, I realized, much like you, your job is to make music, but you're ultimately creating for yourself. And this is
Yes,
for me. This is for me to have a conversation with incredible people like you, and to learn and grow and have this time to connect. It's the rest of it is a cherry on the cake. This is what matters.
absolutely. Likewise, absolutely.
So three of my inspirations, my biggest inspirations, period, were and are Kurt Cobain, then Tupac Shakur, and then Anthony Bourdain. And I'm so fascinated by where you are, because I only know it through the lens of Anthony Bourdain and maybe one or
Mm.
two books like L'étranger, where there's like hints of Morocco in
Yeah,
is it Albert Camus' L'étranger?
yeah, yeah. Camus. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
my favorite writer. Yeah,
well, there you go. So more connections. Why the hell?
absolutely.
How did you fall in love with Morocco? Like, how did you get to Tangiers?
Well, I think like it's always difficult to say because eh, I think how can I put that? I was in that period where when I was in a different band and we were tour like friends from like young age and came from nothing, and we were suddenly like having success. We were touring all over the world. And I was the only one, not that I wasn't grateful, I was truly grateful, but
Hmm.
I didn't had the ambition to become the person that needed to feed that kind of weird um side reality that my friends were so happy to live in. So it was at the end of a cycle where, we had like so many hit singles and nomination for that record. And so I wasn't feeling very good because when you're in a band, you kind of lose it's part, especially from that young age, you kind of lose the sense of self to the benefit of the collective, which is, there's benefits to that because you can hide in that collective as well. But me, I was to the point where I wasn't feeling much, if anything, and I had lost my father and I didn't look too much into it. I was just grateful that after years being, not being very good at communicating for lack of other expressions, I
Hmm.
was able to be there like for the last moments of his life, and we were able to make peace and to forgive each other and to have a real moment as uh men. And that was a very intense moment for me, but I kept on going after, and I kept on touring. 4 days after my father passed, I was headlining in Taiwan. So it was just crazy, and I wasn't feeling it anymore. And after that, I wanted to find a place or a way where I would be able to land, a place where I don't have any kind of references, no friends, no place to
Mm.
hide, no possible cop outs. So, and for whatever reason, it's crazy. I was supposed to go to Barcelona to write that band's next record. Everything was settled, everything was organized. And at the end, I just like, well, you know what? I just want to go to Tangier. And I remember all the Beat Generation and all the painters, Francis Bacon and all. And but it was really instinctively, like I kind of drifted here, and I arrived
Mm.
here. It was so puzzling. It was completely out of my kind of reality, and I was residing in a guest house, some kind of a boutique hotel, and I was I realized that I was simply Alex. For the very first time in a long, long time, I was Alex, and I was wondering what it meant. Because usually and even for a long time, I kept on talking, oh, we're doing things, we're doing this. This is what and people it was so strange for people that didn't know me. Like, who is we? you know,
Yeah.
just like, who are you talking about? And then I realized, and it became a real emotional detox. And and by looking at people, by meeting other people, by being simply myself, by walking around, being a person, being a human, just like smiling at someone, being smiled back, having a coffee, having someone that will come and sit. What are you reading? So for me, I was just like so afraid of being Alex and being exposed. And what does it mean? So would I be able to go back after? So it's impossible for me to kind of reconnect that those two very strange kind of realities, because suddenly I was just a person. So I didn't have to wear a uniform per se, or I didn't have to act a certain way to make sure that people won't be disappointed, or to react or to feel, the way that some other people would love for me to do, because it was
Hmm.
so important for them. Because suddenly I felt like I had trapped myself in that kind of persona that started real, but then suddenly became a prison, because I didn't know at the end when people are asking you, so I want to kill myself, just talk to me, Alex. Just like, Okay. Well, I feel exactly the same. I don't know what to tell you, but you cannot say
Hmm.
that to someone. So I was like stuck in that kind of strange reality, and Tangier kind of really I was out of it, and
Yeah.
it became a kind of a renaissance for me, because not only was I able to be Alex, I was able also to express profound grief for losing my father, regrets for all the stupid reasons why I kept a distance from him, all those things. And I realized that by thinking I was doing what was expected of me, everything I was touching was like corrupted, because I was trying so hard, to do the right things. And I wasn't allowing myself just to be a person. And it's really here that I felt that, like, going out with people, and I thought I was, you know, free, and I thought, I've seen the world, whatever it means. I thought, like, I, I had it coming. I had lived enough to get a sense of what life is, but I was so stuck. I was so miserable. And it's here that I really admit it. And I think I came here, and because I wanted to end things, really. And that's why I picked a place where I didn't know anyone, when I wouldn't have like a second thought. And for me, I was in that kind of place where I didn't see any kind of like possible resolution or alternative. And I was so deeply depressed. And it's true that the benevolence of people, the kindness of people that didn't know what was happening. Even my closest friend didn't know. And so I just saw something else, just like in the very, very far. You're just seeing like like an hidden door or whatever, and you're seeing like a little bit of light, and you're just like, what's that? And people were, instead of like um receiving me based on their own values, they were welcoming me, like,
Hmm.
whoever you are, just come and we'll talk. And that was a real, as simple as it might sound, it was a real revolution for me, revolution of the heart. I was just able to say, well, okay, I don't have to play a role. I don't have to please everyone. I don't have to be that guy anymore. And I didn't want to. So my first trip was 2 months, and it became 2 years. That was quite a that was quite a detox, right?
Yeah.
I had
You know,
I had
I,
a little bit more to deal with.
I love this is why I love doing this, because you can ask the simplest question and expect a simple response, but then you get something so profound and shocking and emotional. And I appreciate you sharing that and being vulnerable. That's the name of the game here. It sounds like you went away in search. You were going away to leave yourself, but instead you found yourself.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think that when you want to go, when you're, let's say you're willing and you're disposed and you're engaged to go as deep as, okay, well, I'll go as deep as I need to be. You're never really, you still want to keep like just like a lifeline somewhere, so you can go back
Mm,
and reemerge, and just like, okay, woo, that was close. But here it was the first time for me to be very resolute about, look, I'm going to go as deep as I have to go. And if I'm drowning, or if I have the feeling of drowning, then I have faith that I'll learn to breathe somehow, but I need to go
yeah.
as deep as I can. So, because it would have been easy just to touch a little bit of it, and just like, well, okay, I had enough answers, so I can keep on going. But me, I was so sick of everything I was going through. I so sick of me. I just needed
Mm.
to go as deep as possible, whatever the cost, you know.
Yeah.
And it's crazy when you think about it. And and I think it was the most beautiful uh thing. You know, just like you're choosing yourself by basically saying like, well, you know, if I don't go back, if I don't come back, so be it. And I never came back because after that kind of trip, I was completely different. I wasn't changed. I was different.
Yeah.
And even my friends, they were just like, okay. So I wasn't like I wasn't like acting like I had like a spiritual enlightenment or whatever. I was just like different. It's difficult to say. Probably they would have like probably like a whole lot to say about it, but
No,
I was
I
just free, you
understand.
know. It, I was just emancipated in many
Yeah.
ways.
Well, I totally understand and I agree with you. It's funny, like, good therapists, great therapists, coaches, etc. They don't sit there trying to provide you with solutions. Ultimately, they try to create a safe space where you can feel unjudged and then completely open up and let go. And then in doing so, hold up a mirror, they will, so that you can see yourself. And it sounds like when you got there, you finally found a space where you could feel safe being yourself, and when you allow yourself to do that, then everyone else start to see you, so you start to become seen. And in that moment, isn't it beautiful, Alex, that by them seeing you, that's when you start to actually see yourself.
Absolutely, you exist.
Yeah.
You know, you suddenly exist. You're not like um you are, I should say, you are. And for all the time that you manage to kind of exist, so then you are, and people are just like, they don't people here, they just, and that was the beautiful thing. They didn't
Yeah.
care who I was. They didn't care. You know what I mean? What I'm coming the baggage I was coming with, you know, just
Yeah.
like there was no horror, or there was no like, oh my God, here comes a rock star. We need to, you know, we're impressed. You know, nobody cared because
Yeah.
it was something else. And I not knowing, when we talk about like how we can drift somewhere without knowing, not knowing that that place was like some kind of, it's weird to say, it was some kind of like a, a beacon where a lot of people like this were, you know, like
Yeah.
very successful people that were never happy. And suddenly there was no way in the world where that kind of people would be there at the same time and talking and sharing and being so open, you know, if it wasn't for that kind of like safe space. Absolutely, it's
100%.
impossible. So that's why I became so attached with Tangier, because I realized after that it wasn't only that place where I was residing, but it was the reflection of that very incredible city where the rhythm of that singular place beats on a human heart. And
Mm.
people, they don't, you know, they don't see people with um their baggage. They don't see them the way we see the world, let's say. Let's put it that, or the way I saw the world. And
Yeah.
it's completely different, you know, because it's strange. I can see the coast of Spain from here. I'm in Africa, and people are coming from what here they identify them as like Black Africa. So a lot of people are coming here hoping to cross that little space, you know, that it's like 45 minutes, you know, boat
Mm.
ride. And people are here hoping to cross. And on the other side, there's people just like me who are contemplating this place, trying to get away from their lives. So,
Yeah.
and when you have those mixed at some point, it's kind of incredible because you're it's like being and it's like time is suspended for like a little moment, and where we're from doesn't matter anymore. It's just like you can open up about, the reason you're in that kind of motion. And that's what I'm seeing like almost every day when I'm going for a walk and talking with people. That's the same thing. So that's why it's so unique and singular of a place.
We're gonna have to use this last clip as like a tourism video for Tangier.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
Come to
so I'm
Danger,
not gonna
guys.
ask you. I'm not gonna ask you about Virginia because I'm scared about the answer.
Well, that's a whole different story, but that's that's home in different ways for me. It's my
Well,
it's
so
my calm place.
let me guide the conversation and ask this because you said something beautiful there. You said how something can be so far and yet close, or something can be so close and yet so far. It's this beautiful thing that exists within the universe, within time, within music,
Mhm.
within literally how we started this conversation. So imagine this. I'm a 18-year-old kid. I finished high school in Prague in the Czech Republic. I played baseball. I traveled all over Europe with my baseball team. I learned languages. I was blessed to have good education there. And I leave to go to the US for a year. And baseball wasn't for me. I just knew in my heart that it wasn't. So my parents said, fine, you're coming back to Europe. You're going to work. You're going to figure things out. I went to Luxembourg and traveled and worked and spent lots of times in cafes and bars writing in a book, and somehow ended up in Toronto, back in Toronto in university. And I, again, somehow fell into web design. Well, about 6 months into me running my first ever website, music website, Pure Grain Audio, which is what uh, morphed into V13 Media Group
Okay.
today, I get an email from a friend who went to high school at the same place in Prague, G. And he says, hey, man, what's going on? I'm like, G, life's good, man. What are you doing? He's like, I'm working for this company in New York called Indigo, and we're managing artists. And what are you doing? I'm running this website. Cool. Let me send you a package. And I got a box with drum heads and CDs and all this stuff. And the universe said, this is what you're supposed to do. And what are the odds that you're working with Indigo?
Wow. Well, it's funny because I didn't know why the way that's beautiful. That's awesome. That's a beautiful curveball. I wasn't expecting that at all. But some of the people in the team, they were just like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna have a great time. It's great." And I didn't, because I'm completing the records. I'm I'm not too much into details. Usually I would have said like, "Oh yeah, why?" So that's why they probably said that, and it's crazy. Yeah, but I mean, think about that, okay? So for most of that uh, crazy adventure that is uh, creative expression, art, music, I never wanted to have management. I had one manager when we really, really first started, and everything went wrong, and I didn't feel like it was for me. So fast forward like years after, get that heart surgery. And then I realized I had to admit that, well, I cannot do all those things because it's me and the bass player, my best friend, my brother, Jeff. And I said, well, look, Jeff, and he was the one like organizing everything. So I guess it was easy for me to say, well, well, I don't need anything. Jeff is doing all the, he's taking
Poor
care of
Jeff.
everything. So that was very easy. But I was just like, well, listen, brother, I think that, you know, I need, I need, uh, I need something different because I'm different now. And again, I was barely able to speak, right? So Jeff said, okay, well, I think it's a good idea, for you to have management and to have different perspective and obviously to focus on art. And I was like, I mean, I was in such a in such a bad shape. So Jeff went everywhere. So we know a lot of people, and the second people got, oh, really? Alex is looking for management. That's new. So a lot of people, and great. I was very grateful. A lot of people were, if they weren't interested, were very curious about it. So we were meeting those people, and Jeff had a meeting. He was in New York and had a meeting with Indigo. So went to the meeting and everything. And there's part of the story that, I let them, because I wasn't there, I let them talk about it if they want. But Jeff sat in like their conference room, and some people are there and say, well, he's talking about what we're doing. Everybody, well, wow, it's very interesting. So he said, well, but wait, here it's about the music, so we want to listen to the music. So that crazy guy put like a live version, like it was like a 20-minute version of a song. Put that on, we had like a video. We did like a DVD like years back. Put that 20-minute track. Just like everybody's just like, okay, well, like after 30 seconds, everybody was like, okay, well, we're interested, but they had out of respect to watch and listen to the whole damn thing. So after that, they were just like, who's that crazy guy? I mean, you never do that in a meeting. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
And Jeff is pretty savvy. He's very he's working a lot in the business, so we've been doing that for so long. So, but for him, it was like, well, guys, if you are to be real, what Alex needs, it's people that truly love his music. And
Hmm.
so that was, so he put that out. So blah blah blah. So then after that, Bill, who's like the owner of the company, said, well, I want to meet Alex. But Alex is back in Virginia. There, he's barely able to talk. I'm barely able to move. So Jeff is like, okay, well, obviously he didn't say, well, Alex is like had a little surgery, so it might take like a little while, but it's just like nothing to worry about. Me, I didn't know if I would be able to talk again. So Jeff was doing his thing, and then Bill, super enthusiastic. I don't know if you've met him, but he's like, talk about someone who's alive. I mean, boom, said, I want to meet this guy. And he said, tell Alex he'll never find someone that loves him more than I do if it's not for his mother. So it was very funny, cute, great, which is true though over the years. And so Jeff said, man, I'm sorry, dude, you need to come to New York. I said, bro, I'm barely able to get from my my room to the bathroom alone. You want me to go to take the plane and to go to New York to meet those guys? I mean, the second they'll see me, they will be like, holy shit, what? A little surgery is like, oh, I just went to the dentist or something, or just like, oh, I broke a finger, but it's, don't worry about it. But me, I was like barely able to move. So get to New York. So just like, okay, everything was smooth. And man, so when like elderly people are kind of like telling you, come on, move, because you're moving so slow. So that was how slow I was. So finally met them, and I'm just like you. I don't know if you're still, but me, I'm a major baseball fan. That's why it's so funny. And so is Bill. And I
Yeah.
figured by looking at some of like interviews that he was into baseball. And I said to Jeff, well, maybe, we can go to, at the time we were like deeply supported the Giants San Francisco after the Montreal Expos left. So I
Yeah.
said, well, for the first time, the opening weekend was like the Giants and the Yankees, which is like Bill's team. And now we adopted the team. Said, well, that's perfect. So we're at the Yankee Stadium. We're like kids. I'm barely able to walk. So I met Bill and Jenny, his wife and also business partner. And it was like love at first sight. Incredible. It wasn't even about, just like the state that I was in. So immediately I was put to ease about that. No stress. we'll take you, we'll walk with you through that recovery, and we'll manage everything with you. That's so for me. It was like, man, I'm a, I'm I'm fighting against the fact that I'm a cynical person. I'm fighting that, on the daily. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, it was really special, and because I had given my word to meet other people before, like, okay, just to, out of respect, so I met everybody. And that was so on top of it, listen to that, on top of it, I'm barely able to walk, meet those people. We fell in love. They're just like, take your time, Alex, heal, we're there for you. And and let's do it, let's celebrate. Well, guys, I have to tell you that before we do that, I need to keep on meeting the people that I like gave my word to meet. So
Hmm.
think about, just like, who do you think you are? So they went through, they accepted it. So they went through all that nonsense and so much more after that. And but that was it. And it was the very first time that, I firmly believe that, you find your people, you're gonna find your purpose, because there's something that goes with, the people that you're with. And 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 it was the first time I was able to find people that were as intentional as I was,
Hmm.
but with a very human driven approach. That was the core value: family, like, so. And there was me, who was as physically damaged as, I'm emotionally damaged, if not more. So to be able to connect like that without the pressure having to convince, to give something back, it was the first time in my life that I was able to say, okay, well, God, please, I want it to be true. I want.
Hmm.
And it changes into, I believe it. And it took me a little bit of time, not because of them. They were like above and beyond, but for me, just to say, okay, well, it's like, I can trust again. I can have that kind of relationship where it's intimate, and I want to present myself as the person I am,
Yeah.
bad with communicating, like, to be intimate with people. That's very, very difficult for me still. But, and they were, and there still are, so, uh, um, yeah, so benevolent, so caring. And it was, I don't think I would have done it without them, because all the pressure to keep the recovery, it was so hard to come back. I didn't know, the guys were playing a song that we played like so many times. And me, I didn't know, like, what it was. Just like, when you're looking around and you're just like, hmm, can you guide me here, guys? So
Yeah.
everybody was freaking out. They weren't like obviously showing me, but I didn't know anything. Everything was lost, and I had to learn everything, like piece by piece. Then, oh, I have enough of I have enough pieces to do something and keep on going. And uh, my family, Indigo, my friends, they were there every step of the way. And God, there was like, I was so far away, and they walked with me. And that's why now I'm so talking about grateful and taking a chance.
Yeah.
It's just like, I didn't want that relationship to be defined by the difficulties I had in the past, and my limitation in terms of like being able to connect in a very personal and intimate way. So, and that was a big thing.
Yeah. Well, you said so many important things there, and I appreciate. You said you have a hard time being intimate and connecting. I think we've been doing a pretty good job of that for the last hour. So far,
Yes,
so
true.
good.
So, yeah, true. But that's thanks to you, because that's the beauty of, like, when you're sharing with someone, when you feel like, when you say, oh, no, nobody's ever. nobody's asking me questions. But
Mm,
I mean, when you're having a conversation and you feel like you can go somewhere. Usually, let's talk about music.
yeah,
We don't have to talk so much about this or this or this. There are so many different ways to kind of deflect, and just in a very polite and respectful way. But for me, that would be the interview, and that would be like, man, that was just, people will ask me, and I would say, wow, man, that was such a moment.
yeah,
I'm taking something out of it that I can, feed my heart and soul with. I'm just like,
yeah.
wait a minute, what happened? But it's
Well, when
because
you
you've been generous in that sense, and you kind of led the way. Otherwise, just like, well, okay, let's see how it goes.
well, I got some more questions for you. So it's funny, like there's such a theme of like letting go and surrendering and growth and change here with you. It sounds like that this, where we started, the surgery and Morocco, it's been such a profound period in your life of transformation, and now you've not only started to refine yourself but refined the ability to connect with other people, and you're finding
Yeah.
other teams, other people that can help you along your journey, whether it is through healing or musical. And again, this idea of close and far. So G and I remain in touch every month. We have a video call just to say what's up. We talk about life and reminisce of Prague and high school, but also about the music
That's
industry. And it just
crazy.
happens that there's some artists. I mean, I've got more G stories, but they're for the next time we talk.
Yes.
But like when I messaged him, because you and I were supposed to connect, I think about a week ago or 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago, and so check this out. You're there, I'm in Vancouver, and I'm messaging him, hey, and say, oh, dude, like, I just saw that he's with Indigo. Like, can you ask anyone there if they can give me a fun question or two that I can ask? And he goes, I'm in Montreal right now. What are the odds that he's in your hometown when he sends me the
That's funny.
messages, right?
Yeah, and I'm not there.
I know.
That's funny,
So
man.
I want to talk about some music stuff and some industry stuff, because as much as this is about us and mindset and growth and change in your story, like I also try to get some wisdom out that other artists can use, whether they're musicians or just artists in general. Um, so, and we haven't even talked about Andrew King and how Andrew King used to work for Pure Grain
Oh,
Audio and how you worked with Andrew King. So,
that's
Alex, there's a
crazy,
part
man.
two. There's a part two in the future.
It was long, it was overdue. That connection was overdue. We had to connect.
Absolutely. So your Substack is crazy personal. Anyone that's a big fan of yours has been following it for a while, and you've basically shared most of what you've talked about today already
Yeah.
publicly. Um, but I've learned recently that that doesn't end, right? Like for every time that Kurt didn't want to play Smells Like Teen Spirit anymore, there were still millions of people that hadn't heard it. So even
Yeah.
though it was dead to him, he still has to push that marketing still. So you have to still answer these questions about your heart, even if it's 10 years later.
Yeah, but you know
What
what? But it's with your perspective that
true.
makes it that makes it completely different. So, that being said.
I I agree with you. I think the story can take on different forms, and it's like watching a movie, right?
Absolutely.
Like I was just watching an interview with Theo Vaughn and oh my God, the actor Jeff Bridges who plays the dude
Mm,
in,
yeah.
and he was saying like even I still watch that movie and there's things that happen that I pick up on and like, oh my God, I didn't notice that before. And so you can be close to a project but still not see everything, right?
Yes, and that's the beauty of, because it means that you're embodying something that was greater than yourself, and you're ready and you're willing to to go all the way, which
Yeah.
is not always, the case, especially with art, or
Mm,
nowadays. It's just like everybody feels the pressure, or maybe self pressuring themselves to be a product, a brand. That's,
yeah.
you're the brand. Well, I'm a person, it's just like, I'm not a brand. If you want to buy a car, you're going to, but just like, but it's funny how everything has been stripped down to what you want to sell and how you
Mhm.
need to present yourself, how you want people, to see yourself, how you need to approach your audience, how you want to do things. And for me, I was like kind of like trapped in that world with the previous band. But what I'm doing now, I mean, it's just like it's I can do whatever I want. I don't have the pressure you know, to I want to connect with people, but I
Mhm.
don't want to please anyone. So as long as
Yeah,
it's real, as long as it's honest, and the song will keep on evolving. So that's the big difference, I think, between um, you know, the business in general now, you know? So
100%. So, I mean, I do have a laundry list of questions, but we're gonna keep it a little shorter, and that way you and I can have a really good part two in the future down the road.
absolutely.
Um, and then that way I can apologize to Indigo for not using all their questions, which they took the effort and time to give me. But I will ask you one. With your Substack, it's so deeply personal. Is there anything about it that you find the most beneficial to you? Are there any pitfalls to being so personal on there? When you started it, did you know where it was going? Is it more about like your own continued healing? Talk to me a little bit about just the idea behind it, because even the name, um, uh,
As
it
you're
is
from within.
so, yeah, it's just so like philosophical and emblematic of like what you're going through right now. And then you got the
Yes.
hummingbird logo, right? There's so much about it that is heart and change and growth.
Yes. Yes. I think when it's one of my it's one band member was also the co-writer. I'm a very, very like dear friend of mine, Ben. And so I was kind of recreating the same environment I was with like with different musicians in the band as I was trying to get out with the previous band. And Ben
Mhm,
said, well, you know what, man, you need to find an outlet where you can just be yourself and talk about whatever you want. And it's not about trying to, to take like a selfie of you and to do this and that and just like things that, nobody that you don't care about. And then it's about you. You just, and at
mhm,
first I wasn't sure, but then I said, well, yeah, it's cool. And I saw the benefit of it in terms of like, okay, well, let's, I want to get closer to people and commune with them. And a way to do that, if I'm perpetuating the image of, you know, the guy that, succeeded, the guy on stage. So I wanted to kind of bridge that kind of perception that we might have when we're talking with someone that we might like, that we might appreciate what he's doing, might be curious about what he's thinking about, just to make it absolutely human, raw. So I didn't want, nothing to, I didn't want to sell anything. So it was about connecting. And this is what I live, this is where I'm at, and
mhm,
this is it. And sometimes I tend to think afterwards, well, have I gone too far? And but it goes back to why are you doing it and were you honest when you say it? And that's why I said, well, today I'm sharing that. I might tomorrow I might have like a different angle to it, but now this is where I'm at. And
mhm,
it's enough of a reason to share. And I think it kind of like leveled up, this kind of like pedestal where people might see others, especially now, just like people will create fantasies about their lifestyle for people to idolize them. Absolutely not in that motion. That's not my jam at all. For me, I want to connect with others, and I care and when they're sharing things because they're as much personal as well. And that's why after that, it comes uh, a real understanding and a real um, welcoming uh, channel between me and people and me. So it
mhm.
becomes a place where we can share. And I don't need to sell, you know. whatever things that I might be into. I will share about things that I like, other artists, whatever. I'm talking much more about dogs and sometimes, just it's having a coffee with friends and
Yeah.
just to be real. So that's how I approached it. And and
So
and
can I jump in, ask
yes,
a question?
yeah, of course.
It almost sounds like it's live journaling with friends where you get to have catharsis and release and journal your intimate moments and stuff, but also share that and turn it into a bit of a community in real time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, I don't I don't think too much about what it is,
Okay.
and that I think that's the most precious thing about this community. So in the morning I will start. I'm connecting with people. I'm doing like audios when people are you know purchasing something on my store. So there's so many different things that are not like per se advertised, but it's all part of my values. I'm starting my day reconnecting with what matters, and what matters is that that communion that I have with people. So I don't have like a plan where, oh, I need to have like, I need to talk about this, because, I'm part of the like promotion cycle and I need to do this. And, I'm not really good at it. And I think people will sniff the bullshit, miles and miles away. It's not
Yeah.
my thing and it's not who I am. So that's why for me, I really take it as it is. And, I will probably share about our conversation. So because people, they, they know, but they don't know. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about it. It just to kind of open like, it's just like watching a movie and suddenly like the main character turns to you and talks to the screen. It's like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And so that's a little bit how I see it, but I
Yeah.
don't care too much about what it is, to be quite honest.
Well, I think it's an amazing idea. I think I've been following many different types of Substackers for a while, and it's really interesting, and it's a cool window into your world. And I'm trying to do the same thing basically with this podcast, sharing
Yeah.
about myself in many ways and healing in real time by having conversations about the things that have happened to me. And hopefully I'll grow and other people might, latch onto an idea and be able to grow as well. I have two questions left. I don't want to keep you all night. And then we can wrap up. One work, one heavier. Uh, you've got a new song out, Springtime, and I don't want to talk about the song per se. I know that you also have multiple businesses, one of which is drum and vinyl. The vinyl for that song or single is like the craziest vinyl I've seen in my life. I have so many. I collect, and I've got the splatters and the blood splatter
Yeah.
and the multi-tone and all this stuff. But like that's a full-on Moroccan stained glass window. It's insane.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So
Yeah,
just
but
tell me a bit about that. It's crazy.
yeah, it is. But I think, it's again, it's the people also that I'm surrounded with, and I have like the utmost blessing to be with people that are as crazy as I am, and well, and maybe in a better way. They're as engaged as I am. And when I have like different idea like this, there's so much like you need to push the medium and just like, okay, well, I would like to have this and that. And then I'm creating like a little bit of the design. I'm working with one of my best friends, Stephanie. She's doing like all the designs with me. And she will be like, well, this time I don't know. This is maybe it's just like it's crazy, and I don't know if we can truly have that. But everybody keeps on pushing, and that's the reward because it's not about commerce. It's not about a transactional thing, because it's just like the passion that you put in everything you do and everything I do, and suddenly it becomes like a team effort. And then when you're able to share that with people, and people, they know that it's not about like, oh, give me your money and thank you. If, if there's any thank you coming
Hmm.
with it. So it's just like that desire to create something that would be significant, that would be meaningful, and and it gives me a sense of purpose as well when I'm creating something. I'm creating music. I see music with colors and I see images, and I'm able to share a little bit of this with something that is more. You're sharing the intangible elements with something that you can hold in your hands. And
Hmm.
for me, that's crazy. That's really what got me into that in the first place. So that's what keeps me going.
It's an incredible piece of art and definitely something people should check out. I wanted to ask, about like the process and the hotel and basically all your businesses. So we'll do that in the future because I love to also understand the entrepreneurial mind and all the things
Yes.
and how you manage all the things. Let's end with something a little heavier, but also I think a perfect bookend to this entire conversation. So you and I have both been through a lot of shit and, it continues to go. For example, I believe you lost a sister recently and, you've had
Mm.
other stuff happen to you. The home in the home in Virginia. I don't know when that happened, but like, losing a home or a big flood, there's a lot. So my question is this, like
Yes.
the Alex Henry Foster now, where you are emotionally and spiritually as a human being on this planet, how are you dealing now with grief and regret and these situations that happen versus before? How much has changed and what are you
Mm.
using, what are you doing differently, man?
Well, that's a very easy question. Oh wow, man. That's something all my very close friends will like would be able to so vividly express and expose, I guess. But you know, before there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of frustration, and I think I would there's always that natural tendency to kind of go back there and to just to kind of curse something or someone about it. And I think that when I realized um the whole cycle of events that went up to my home in Virginia, where it was the first time. I'm coming from a very humble background. We kept on moving all the time with my parents. I never understood the concept of home until I found that place. And all the most precious memories are there
Mhm.
and think about it as an adult. All the rest is just like kind of blurry, but I do remember for the things that I do remember following my surgery, everything is kind of like associated with this place. That was my place. And what happened is, you know, I trusted someone, a friend, to go and look after it, and the whole catastrophe happened. Honestly, I was infuriated. I was so angry, and it brought all the bullshit from my past. Everything, it was like a biblical sentiment of rage, and I wanted like, you know, there was not even, not enough curses and like that could fall in his head because it suddenly the only thing that mattered to me. There are so many other things that hurted me, and I was like so um I was broken by it. But that when it happened, like all my souvenirs, things like that. I've lost a dog that was very dear to my heart, and so I I accompany him through his latest moments in that place. So everything was gone, and then I had to realize when I was like more, when I came back to my senses, I realized, well, you know, what will always uh, be, not survive, be and keep on evolving is already in motion within me. Yeah, it sucks and it's terrible for anyone who went through that kind of like situation, but it was already there. It was already in motion within me. And suddenly I realized, by being so pissed off and angry. And so, you know, I don't, thank God I don't remember what I told my friend. And, he, thank God he forgave me, I guess. But I was destroying what, what I actually, the result of all those things that happened there, but that were within me. And when I realized that, I said, "Whoa, man, now I'm losing it." And because it wasn't that much about the place in itself, it wasn't about the walls, or like it was. I felt like someone took something, the only thing that was precious that everybody knew about, and kind of like dismiss it and just like fuck it, sorry, just like whatever. And for me, it was like an absolute uh, rejection of everything I believe in. And after that, I just like, when I just like decided to calm down and went back there, and I realized I wasn't able to be mad at this guy because I love him, and walk around and see everything like being completely destroyed. And I'm just like, well, and all those souvenirs, all the memories, all the good time, what kind of still vibrates, still vibrating within me, it was still there. And it was for me to
Mm-hmm.
decide, you know, do I want to keep them trapped in that place, in that beautiful house? Well, what used to be a very beautiful house, or do I want to keep on bringing that with me wherever I go, and keep on growing through it and with it? And and sometimes it's tough, it's just it seems to be pretty easy and simple, and not to oversimplify things, but this is really how I felt. So, well, you know what? If it truly matters, I need to embrace what's within, and what keeps on, transforming me and healing me. So that's why after that I had like a complete different perspective about it. And it's been it's been a year and a half, and they're still fixing the place. That was that crazy of a catastrophe. But
Yeah.
I've been able to go back and live there, no shower, like very roots, like, just like back to my punk days, and squatting in my own place. But the spirit was still there, because I, it's within me. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm cultivating more and more. Sometimes it's, life being life. It's not always easy, but I think that by cultivating that, it brings peace, perspective, clarity as well. And I think I'm less, um, I'm more able to share with people as well, even like the people around me. They have that impression that I'm a bit more reachable than I was before. Just like they kept on saying, "Well, you used to be like a, like a some kind of like a crazy wild animal that nobody wanted to to approach that much, because I wasn't good with myself. I wasn't at peace with myself. And now,
Yeah.
I love that. I didn't want to be touched. I got sexually abused when I was a kid. So all that kind of crap was always coming back. Don't touch me. So what do you want from me? And now, here in Morocco, everybody, like strangers and all, the first thing they do when they see you and interact with you is to be physical in a very good
Mm.
way. And I'm learning that for the first time in my life, just like how good it is. Just like, hey man, that's wow. So I was about to say relearning things, but no, because, you know, I never wanted to learn that. I was just like I was just the product of all the pain, and I was rejecting that because I didn't want to feel that pain anymore. So now I'm discovering things, like the
Yeah.
most basic things. And I'm talking with my friends, just like, have you got religious or something? Because, it's so different. I said, Well, no, I just like I'm discovering life for what it is, and I take what's
Yeah.
beautiful and I deal with the bullshit, you know? But it's part of it. You cannot just take whatever you want, and I'm good with it. I accept it now. You know, I don't have to
I
fight it anymore.
I love that, Alex. I have a saying, I'm sure other people have said it before, but hurt people hurt people.
Yeah,
Oftentimes, when people are being mean towards me or rude or whatever, it's simply because of something else that has happened in their circle. And it could be like, something small, like they got pissed off in the morning and it carried with them, or it could be a larger thing. So it sounds
yeah,
like you were very much that type of person. You were guarded in order to protect your own self and your own psyche. But by having the surgery and the heart and the experiences like the house, this has been a huge shedding of your past. It's funny, right? It's the water, the releasing
yeah,
and
absolutely.
cleansing the house and getting the house back in order. I mean, it's basically prophetic of what you're doing with yourself as a human.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that when you're more at peace, at least for me, being more
Hmm.
at peace, now I understand what it means to give value to people. You know, not that I wasn't before, but now it's just like it has like a completely different meaning. Before you're grateful, you're thankful, you know, you're sharing things with people, you're being generous and all,
Hmm.
but there's always a limit to how you will engage yourself into it. Now it's
Yeah.
different. I'm learning just, you know, what it means to give value to people and just to kind of connect like that on a very, very simple way, you know, and I'm discovering that every day and all those little things, you know, again, could, like we said at first, could be a smile from someone, you know, there's like a guy walking like a big guy walking that looks like, you know, like super pissed. You're just smiling at him and suddenly his whole face, you know, brightens and just like, you know, it just a different universe kind of like happen. So all those little things, just, you know, just paying attention to others and that's really what, yeah, that's really what inspires me now.
Good for you. I have a feeling, I shouldn't say, I mean, it's a feeling, but I would not be surprised if Alex Henry Foster was entering into the most productive and prolific and successful half of his life now. I mean,
Mm,
you've already achieved so much, but it seems like you're, uh, you're ripe for explosive growth. Do me a favor. We've talked quite a bit. Thank you for taking the time on this beautiful
well, man, that's
Moroccan rooftop. Uh, my guests always end it for me. And I just want a last little Alex Henry Foster piece of Moroccan wisdom that people can take away with them for the rest of their lives.
wow. So, woo, that's a good one. I think that for me, it would be like choosing yourself, and that's what I've learned here. Choosing yourself for real is also choosing others. So you don't. There's no, you know, there's no shame in being in a place where, you know, you've been knocked down, and sometimes we feel like we need to put a knee on the ground and just to keep on going. But there is a real liberation when you just accept, well, that's my knockdown, and I'll be back up in a minute. You know, I just need to rest. And that's a lot of things like that are being like shared here. And because it's a rough life, man, it's not easy for for anybody everywhere. But that's really what I'm getting here. And just to choose yourself is choosing others as well. And there's that cycle, you know, and you need to trust that at some point somebody else, because somebody else is choosing to take care of himself, will go back to you whenever you'll need it. So that's pretty much, it's not a, I don't know if it's wisdom or if it's something that some people might, you know, carry it on with, but you know, there's, yeah, that's where I am now, I guess.